Driving in the Fast Lane with Frank Sparks. It's the show that talks about what's happening in the news, locally, regionally, and nationally. There will be guests, and Noah Haswell will have the news of the top and bottom of each hour. And now, here is the host of the show, Frank Sparks.
Well, good morning. Frank is on vacation. You've got me, Larry Ferrario, sitting in today. We've got a very special guest. It's that time of the week. Tom Young, First Consultants. Welcome back, Tom.
Hey, Larry. Great to be here. Great to be here. Let me hit my, there we go. So we're live on my Wi-Fi and Facebook page. So,
you got it.
Hey, it's the third Tuesday of every month that I'm here from 10:10 to 11 o'clock to talk about a little all of everything. I'm a financial coach, author. I've written several books. I've had articles published internationally. Actually, I'm going to have my first international talk. I'm going to be in Panama the second week of September, speaking to a South American financial group. I'm excited about that. And so I'll be able to say I'm an international speaker and what I'm doing. But hey, today I want to talk about some crazy stuff today. We're going to talk about Trump derangement syndrome. We're going to talk about psychology. We're going to talk about the 6 inches between our ears. You know, everything in life starts between your ears. When you're a baby, everything you absorb comes from your five senses. Sight, hearing, smell, touch, sound, all of that stuff, and taste. All of that stuff molds who we are going to be when we grow up. And as we grow up, we have peer group troubles in high school and junior high school as we try to develop friends. Not everybody wants to be our friend. Some people, we refer to them as bullies and so forth. So I got a lot of notes, a lot of talk about today. I want to start our show today, as I do every show, with a prayer. So we'll bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this new morning. Bless our listeners with success, health, and family love. We pray for world peace and the end of conflicts. Guide us with your grace and light today. In Jesus' name we pray. You know, it's just become a tradition. I had a gentleman, just him and his wife stopped in my office in Beaver one day just to meet me. And he told me he listens to my show and my podcast. And oh, by the way, folks, on Friday this week, I will be here for 2 hours from 10 a.m. to noon. So I think I can get us in trouble with a 2-hour show. I'm going to bring lots of things to talk about. We'll have some call-in time, so if you want to call in. Larry, what's the phone numbers?
Sure, 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888.
Okay, so we're here, and I'm not a lecturer. I look at what I do. I see my 30,000-foot view. So in our discussion today, how are we influenced? In other words, what are the things in our lives that cause us to do the things that we do? Now, I believe that there is a beginning of everything. I gave a talk in Detroit a number of years ago to a large group, national group, and I titled that talk was "Start with Your Why." And there's a book written by Simon Sinek called "Start with Why." I would highly, highly recommend, if you have some aspiration for success in your future, that you get this book and you read this book. Start with why. And because everything we do in life, there's a why attached to it. Why did you go to bed last night? Well, I was tired and I need some sleep. When you get up in the morning, why did you eat breakfast? I was hungry. So why is an extremely, extremely important word in our lives as we look at what we do and how we do it, why we do it. And he has a circle in there. In the middle of the circle, the bullseye is the why. And then the next ring around that is the how. And then the third ring around it is the what. And we all... Well, what do I have to do? We live our life in what's. What do I have to do? What's this? What's that? Those are the questions in life. As we if I was a CEO of a company, the CEO would be the why person. They would be the one running the company. Why does this company exist? What are we doing? And then the executive management would be the how people. It's their job to know how to get things done. And then the third one, the what, is what do I have to do? Those are the people that are getting done what needs to be done. Now, that's a business. But isn't our personal life the same way? If you think about that and you look at people around you that are successful. I mean, they're apparently successful, monetarily successful. They just have a great life. And how did they get there? You know, what were the things they did along the way so that they would know how to do things and then ultimately find their why? I believe the why in our lives on a personal basis is about our purpose. You know, our purpose in life. Everybody has a perspective of what life is about, but we are all driven by perceptions, and perceptions continuously change throughout our lifetime because of experiences, the people we meet, the things we read, and the places we go. That is what determines our next day, our future, and where we're going to go from there. So this influence that we have, if I look at my life, and I go back to my early days when I was in high school, and we'll get to personalities because I believe that's a big part of us. But I didn't do well in school. And some people would have looked at me and said that I was lazy. I didn't have any brains. I wasn't smart enough. So all of these things determined my self-image. You know, think of kids today, and we see the 11 o'clock news and all this stuff going on around us. It's that self-image that gets developed, whether it's by our parents. And unfortunately, we watch the news and hear stories about parents. There was one not too long ago where a mother killed her 3 children. But there were months of doctor visits, and nobody picked up on the signs of what was really going on with this woman and the psychological problem she was obviously having. But we have the news media. Now, I stopped watching the news quite a while ago in depth because what I came to realize when I turn on the news, it's theft, robbery, shootings, car wrecks, and all of this stuff. It's the same every day, Larry. The only thing that changes is the location and the name of the people that are involved, but nothing changes. It is the same every day. So because of that, I made a decision. I don't want to feed my mind with all this craziness that is going on around me. I want to stay as positive as I can be in my life. And I always want to think, I want to have an expectation of good. I want to have an expectation of success. And I want to have an expectation that I'm going to have a positive impact on life, on people around me, people I meet. Isn't that what it's all about, folks? I mean, do you have a perception of life? And let's talk about the news media. And this is nothing against WBBP, WNBA, because you know what? They are an open-minded group, and St. Barnabas is a wonderful organization. I've met some of the management there, and from what I understand, they like me a lot because I don't hold any punches. They don't put any restrictions on what I talk about here. And we've talked about NESARA, GESARA. That's a topic for maybe Friday. We'll get into that on Friday. And all of this information that we get exposed to every day. Now, the news media, the 6 major news media organizations, and I won't name them, but there are 6 billionaires that control those 6 media organizations. Do you think that billionaire's perceptions of what he thinks things should be are an influence on that news media. I would believe in a big way that influence is there. All you got to do is look at some of the different media outlets and their perspective. Remember the perspective again. They have a perspective on the way things should be, and then they have a perception, but their perception is, I'm going to put my perception in your head. I want you to think the way I want you to think. I don't want you to be a free thinker. That goes all the way back, and we'll talk about the Fabian Society. Before we go, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and get into this a little bit deeper. We'll see you after the break.
Hold on tight, Butler County. The action is back. The North Washington Rodeo rides in August 18th through the 22nd. Outstanding champions battle it out for huge prize money in one of the biggest rodeos east of the Mississippi. Experience heart-pounding bull riding, barrel racing, bronc busting, and family fun, all at the famous North Washington Rodeo grounds on Route 38 north of Butler. Get your tickets early and save. August 18th through the 22nd. Don't miss the North Washington Rodeo.
Looking for something that's more than just a job? Then this good news is for you. PA Connected Communities helps people with intellectual disabilities and autism by using fun activities like cooking, pottery, and volunteerism to learn valuable skills. PACC is hiring for full-time and part-time in Beaver, Butler, and surrounding areas. When was the last time you got paid to go bowling, the movies, swimming, or doing a community service project? If you're looking for a great job where you can help others improve their life skills, gain independence, and participate in community activities, all while having fun and get paid nicely too, then visit PACC.org.
Circle of Friends is happy to announce the 2026 Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers schedule. They will be distributed in person starting in July. Beaver County residents age 60 or older is eligible. Income limit for one person is $29,526 and up to $40,034 for two persons. Please bring ID with you. Vouchers will be distributed at Coppell Community Park, 6th Avenue and Arthur Street in Coppell from 10 to 2, Monday, August 7th. Call Circle of Friends for more information at 724-869-4224 or 724-846-1959.
The new look Pittsburgh Pirates are making a push for their first postseason appearance in 11 years.
Line drive off the glove of the first baseman Vargas. Walk it off. Raise the Jolly Roger. Pirates win it in 10. And they are tied with the Diamondbacks for the third wild card spot in the National League.
With all the new additions, including Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn, you won't want to be anywhere else besides listening to Pirates Baseball on 99.3 and 95.7 FM, along with 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA. These Bucks are poised and ready to make a run at greatness, and Beaver County Radio is your place to tune in and listen all season long. Pirates Baseball on Beaver County Radio is presented locally by St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, and Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Have you tried one of McDonald's crafted sodas yet? Whether it's a dirty Dr. Pepper, Sprite Berry Blast, or Orange Dream, your taste buds are in for a pleasant surprise. Perfect for lunch breaks, afternoon pick-me-ups, or any time at all. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
Hey, we're back. Just let me say this. Your future will result from your imagination or someone else's. You have to have a dream or someone else will. Think about that. Where you work, isn't there somewhere that somebody owns the company? I'll bet you they have a dream on what they're trying to accomplish. Let's take a step off and start with perceptions. I mean, the biggest thing in the marketplace that I don't hear anybody talking about is the government debt. And I went on to ChatGPT, AI, here it is. And I said, what are the ramifications of current government debt in the USA? That was what I asked ChatGPT. Current level of government debt in the United States has several significant ramifications affecting various aspects of the economy and society. Here are some key implications. Number one, interest rates. Now, one of the things that we get concerned about, young people, some people trying to buy a home, how impactful is interest rates on our lives every day? When the interest rates rose a couple of years ago, the average credit card balance that was 18% for a long, long time went to 20.4. Well, wow, that happened. But interest rates, rising costs, higher levels of debt result in increased interest rates because the government has to finance that debt. We're at almost knocking on the door of $40 trillion, and there's no way on God's earth that I could illustrate for you to give you the impression of how much $40 trillion is. But the GDP of America is about $25 trillion GDP. So 40 trillion is almost twice the total GDP of the USA. Economic growth is squeezed out because of that debt. The government right now, last year and this year going forward, it is more than $1 trillion a year just in interest. Out of the $6 or $7 trillion they spend, they only collect about $4.5 trillion in taxes. So we're running every year right now. Imagine you have a paycheck of $46,000 a year, okay? And that paycheck doesn't cover your $80,000 a year lifestyle. So every year you add $20,000, $30,000 of new debt every year of your life. How long would the economic system allow you as an individual to do that? I don't think very long. So the economic growth gets crowded out because the money is not there for the economic engine in our capitalistic society. And don't say anything about the capitalistic society because capitalism is the most successful idea that has ever been created. It has created more success worldwide, brought more people out of poverty than any other concept in the history of mankind. Let me say that. Inflation and monetary policy. Well, the government borrows money from the Federal Reserve. They borrow money from everybody, but they got to have money to pay back. Well, where does the Federal Reserve get their money? They have printing presses. They are legal at being able to counterfeit and produce new currency. And when they create new currency, that adds to inflation. Inflation is also impacted by fractional banking. What is fractional banking? You put $1 in the bank, and the bank is able to create 7 to 10 new dollars to loan out to people through the Federal Reserve System's fractional banking. How does that fit with everything that we're trying to do every day? And the news media is good by getting you to think, well, look over there, look what's going over there. Boy, that's really important. And don't look over here. You don't want to look over here. You only want to look over there at what's going on over there. Credit rating. The United States government's credit rating has been lowered 2 times in the last 3 years. That is another thing. Intergenerational equity and opportunity. Geopolitical implications. Global influence. One of the largest holders of U.S. debt, foreign countries, China and Japan, have stake in the U.S. economy. High debt levels can influence diplomatic and economic relationships. So we're in this spider web. You think of a spider web. You ever walk through the woods and through a field, and here's this big spider web, and there's that little black guy or the brown guy with 8 legs sitting in the middle of that web. If you touch any single tine of that web, guess what? It sends him a signal and he's coming to get you. And that is what I see the debt of the U.S. government, because it affects so many other things that are going on around us. And you think this influences you in how you think about debt in your household? Well, it's okay for the government. Remember, 70% of the people, based on personalities, and we're going to come back after the news, we're going to talk about personalities, that influence is there, and you are influenced on how you manage your household and your money based on those perceptions. We'll be back after the news.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and beavercountyradio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning on this Tuesday, August 18th of 2026. We will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. A man is now wanted in connection with a reported domestic disturbance incident that occurred in Aliquippa yesterday. Aliquippa police responded to the 200 block of 2nd Avenue at approximately 7:14 p.m. They arrived and made contact with the female victim. She reported her live-in boyfriend and father of her children had physically assaulted her by pulling her hair, biting her left arm, taking her cellular phone from her, and striking her on the left side of her face with the phone. Physical injuries were observed which were consistent with the victim's account. Officers also found blood on the arms, face, hands, and neck of the victim from the wound on her face. The suspect was identified as a 30-year-old Hispanic man named Jorge Giovanni Montez, who escaped the area prior to the arrival of police officers. His picture can be found on our website at beavercountyradio.com, and a warrant is being obtained for his arrest. Anyone with information about where Montez is can call the Aliquippa Police Department at 724-378-8000. Gas prices are 3 cents lower in western Pennsylvania this week at $4.16 per gallon, according to AAA East Central's gas price report. After a week of falling prices, the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is back on the rise, and it is now $4.06. That average is 5 cents higher than last week. Crude oil prices are in the range of $80 per barrel again amid the continued uncertainty along the Strait of Hormuz. Even though demand for gasoline is down, prices of crude oil are keeping prices at the pump higher than normal for this time of the year. This is the highest August on record so far when it comes to the national average for gasoline. The report states that the average price that you can expect for a gallon of regular unleaded gas here in Beaver County is about $4.29. Allegheny County Sheriff Kevin Krause and a group of deputies will receive a proclamation tonight at that county's council meeting. This will recognize the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office for serving as the custodian of the Flag Sojourn 250 during its week-long stay in western Pennsylvania last month. This will take place at 5 p.m. in the Allegheny County Courthouse inside of the Gold Room on the 4th floor. Pennsylvania State Police in Pittsburgh reported today that 71-year-old Michael Lynch of Swickley was given a written warning after he crashed his vehicle in Allegheny County on July 18th. Lynch was driving on I-279 North in Ross Township at 3:03 p.m. According to police, his vehicle traveled off of the road and hit a cable barrier. There were no reported injuries. And 7 volunteer fire departments located in Pennsylvania were among 150 nationwide recipients of a grant through the State Farm Good Neighbor Firefighter Safety Program worth $10,000. This program is in collaboration with the National Volunteer Fire Council, or NVFC, and it assists local fire departments in purchasing needed equipment to enhance responder safety as well as better protecting their communities. These following volunteer fire departments will receive grants this year in Pennsylvania: Goldsboro Fire Company, Goodyear Hose Company No. 1 Incorporated, Horton Township Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated, Colpmont Fire Department, Neptune Fire Co. No. 1, New England Fire Company, and Valley Township Fire Department.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Some lovely weather is in store for us as we'll see sunshine throughout the day with highs near 80 and overnight lows dropping to 62. And tomorrow, look for increasing clouds with a chance of showers and possible thunderstorms. We'll reach highs in the upper 70s and lows of 61. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, August 18th of 2026 at 34 minutes after 10, we've got a temperature of 75 degrees with fair skies out there currently in Beaver County. And that's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
You're driving in the fast lane with Frank Sparks on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. You can also stream live on beavercountyradio.com.
And welcome back. Frank's on vacation. We've got Tom Young with us this morning. Welcome back, Tom.
Hey, it is a great day in the neighborhood. Beautiful sun out today. I played golf yesterday, and it was like squishy walking on sponges. And at Blackhawk Golf Course, I don't ever remember, ever, in all the years that I've played golf there, and I bet it's been a long time, to have a cart path only on all 4 nines there. I mean, once in a while they have a couple of holes blocked off. You know, you're not supposed to drive on a fairway because too much water. But they were cart path only yesterday. So we've had a lot of rain. Let me get into this, and I'm going to talk about the Trump derangement syndrome. You know, the Trump derangement syndrome is it's an elected decision that we make. And where did we come to the thought that we have that we refer to the Trump derangement syndrome? Let me say this. What we see is an interpretation of the mind. We have to train the mind to interpret what we see. And that applies to what we hear in the same way. So we now know, after 6 to 8 years, all of the news media noise was false. That is now a fact, folks. This is not Tom's opinion. It is now a fact. But because of all of that false noise, you've determined that you don't like this guy, you don't like what he does, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't like everything Donald Trump does either, but I like the results that he is potentially going to get for America. And if you step back and you stop to think, let's take the 30,000-foot view of what's really going on. Do you really want to go back to Joe Biden years where our borders being flooded by foreigners, being flooded by terrorists that are now in our country, being flooded by criminals that we read about and see every day in the news media? Do you really want to go back to that, folks? There's the question. So let's step up to the plate and say, okay, let's look at this in an intelligent way and not just be guided. And that leads me, I want to talk about the 4 types of personalities. There is DISC. Now, I always tell a little story when I start to talk about these personalities. 4 people walk up to a burning building. You know, it's a multi-story apartment building. It's on fire. The D personality walks up. He immediately starts giving direction and orders, and he's the first one to get the fire out of the 4. The S person walks up to the building, and they say, hands in pocket, how can I help? What can I do? How can I? They're servant personality type people. And I'll talk about the Achilles heel because all of these personalities have an Achilles heel, a downside. The C personality walks up and they have a clipboard and they make lists. They're going to write down, now wait a minute, can't do anything till I complete my list and I prioritize everything that's on my list. That's what has to happen here. And while the building burns down. The I personality walks up, says, man, far out. Who's got the hot dogs and the marshmallows? Let's have a cookout. And that is those 4 personalities. We are all a blend of those personalities. my own personality is sort of level across the board of all four of these, and I've taken the assessment program several times, and it all comes out the same. Dr. Rome in Atlanta, who I studied under for this, he said, I have a unique position. I'm in sales, and I'm good at accommodating whatever other personality is in front of me, because some personalities don't communicate well with the other. 2 Ds, if you think about that. A D is a dictating, the downside of a D personality is they can be a dictator. We've seen a few of those in the world. And some people are now calling Donald Trump a dictator, because I know he is a D personality, but I know he is a caring individual at the same time. So the D personality could be dictatorial, okay? And the S personality, they offer to help so much that they don't have all the time necessary to do all the things that they promised you and offered that they were going to do. Have you ever met anybody like that? They're willing to offer and promise and blah, 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 but they just never seem to get it done. They never show up. They don't get it done. They like to offer themselves beyond their ability to provide. The C personality, obviously, these are people that can't make a decision. They are so, and I would even go to say, I say this with love in my heart, folks, an anal personality. In other words, that we've all heard that term, I think, most of us have, but their Achilles heel is they make lists and try to prioritize that list to the nth degree, and they never get it done. The I personality, their Achilles heel, is it's all about fun. If you ever go to a party, and over in the corner, there's a group of people surrounding one person in the middle, and you see their hands flailing around, and that's an I personality. Most of them live in California, is where most of the I personalities are, if you understand that. Now, let's take that and say, let's talk about influence. About 70% of these personality types are very influenceable. So some people, they just hear something a few times, even though it may be false, they tend to believe it quickly. And that is what has led to this medical disease called Trump derangement syndrome. These people are so focused on this one thing that they heard or thought or whatever, and whether it's true or not, they've heard it so often through the news media, they are now sucked into that cyclone of failure. Because those people, if you look at them, they're going nowhere in their lives. They are so focused on this Trump derangement syndrome stuff. Politicians, look at the same thing. What are the politicians doing for us? What did we elect them to do? We elected them to make decisions, correct decisions to run the government. And you know what? I don't have any favorite politicians anymore because the $40 trillion of debt is their fault. All of them. They all made the decisions to continue to spend money, whether we had it or not, because they had access to taxation, they had access to borrow printed money from the Federal Reserve, and there it is, folks. So let's man up out there and woman up. Let's stand up and look at what do you want our country to look like in the future? That to me, that is the question. What do you want your country to look like when your children grow up or your grandchildren grow up? What do you want them to have? What do you want their future to look like when they get there? Do you want socialism and bread lines and the government provides everything? I mean, look around the world. This has been tried over and over and over again in history, and it never worked in any way, shape, or form. But yet we are now electing politicians that outwardly, the DSA, the Democratic Socialist Association of people that want to defund the police, close all the prisons and let all the prisoners out. This thing yesterday, this one that was on there yesterday, and they were talking about, should people be allowed to steal? I thought this was the most, excuse my French, asinine thing I ever heard. Well, yeah, that's good. If you need food, you should be able to go in the grocery store and just steal it. What happened to integrity? What happened to personal responsibility? That thing that I'm responsible for myself. Now, the other bad thing that has happened over the years in my lifetime, I'll be 77 on September 20th, so I've been around a long time. I've been in this financial service business. This is my 50th year. I could talk for hours and tell you stories of things that I have seen where people literally had a .38 pistol shooting themselves in the foot while they're sitting in front of me simply based on what they say to me. I'm getting wound up. I need to cool off. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to wind it up.
If you're not sure what play to call next, and it's 4th and long, maybe it's time to huddle up. This is Andy Dengel from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. I'll join you in the huddle and help you make a winning decision. No, not because I'm that smart, though I am. This is an easy call. When life sacks you and time is running out, the easiest call to make is the one to Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Loan programs of all types for many different purposes can get you across the goal line. Stop in and ask how we can help put you in the scoring position. Loan approvals are based on credit approval, and some restrictions may apply. Now, let's break this huddle and head up to the line of scrimmage so we can set these plans in motion and put a little freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Yankee Trader, Saturday mornings from 10 to noon.
Freedom United Federal Credit Union proudly presents Yankee Trader.
Yankee Trader, buy, sell, or trade.
Yankee Trader is presented by Freedom United Federal Credit Union and in part by Rochester Paving and Seal Coating.
Are you a fan of the historic high school sports history that we have in Beaver County? Beaver County Radio and the Fry Transportation Group are proud to introduce Way Back When. Every Sunday night at 8 p.m., Beaver County Radio will rebroadcast a classic high school game in its entirety. You'll hear the call of famous Beaver County Radio sports broadcasters from the past and present as they take you way back when. Tune in this Sunday, August 23rd at 8 p.m. as we celebrate 2026 being the 79th year of broadcasting high school football on Beaver County Radio by going back to November 15th, 2025, the WPIAL Class 4A High School Football Championship game between the Aliquippa Quips and the McKeesport Tigers. Way Back When is presented by the Fry Transportation Group and brought to you by Falcone's Moon Township Ford, The Hangar, and Beaver County Radio.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their $4 Sausage McMuffin or Sausage Biscuit meal deal. This comes with hash browns and small coffee too. Whether you're on your way to work or school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's,
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Hey, we're back. We're back. Let me throw you a couple of quotes. This is William Shakespeare. There is nothing, either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You know, you got to get control of the 6 inches between your ears, folks. If something you thought to be true wasn't true, when would you want to know about it? I can't make it any clearer than that in what we're doing. When we look at everything that we deal with on our everyday lives, you know, if I'm not getting through to you today in any way, shape, or form, you got to get up off your butt, stand up, let it hit you in the chest, because right now it's going right over your head. You have been dealt and delivered these perceptions that you have that all of these things are bad because somebody wants to make America great again. I will pray for you every day in my prayers that you find your path back to reality and consciousness so we can get on with life. It's just like the SAVE Act that the A couple of senators are sitting on their hands and won't allow that to go through. Who does not want fair, correct, provable elections? Right now the polls show that 86% of society, everybody, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, want it. Get on your phone and call your senator, tell them to get off their ass and get it done. Our country is at stake, folks. I hope I'm getting the message across to you. If we look at our everyday lives, now I talked about the government debt, and all of this stuff going on around us influence us in more ways than you would even think of. Because when you go to make decisions about buying something or debt, that leads me to lifestyles. Your current lifestyle is at war with your future lifestyle. In other words, my spending, every financial choice I make is at the expense of all of my other options. So not having or finding discipline to have a controlling cash flow ability. I don't like the word budget. To me, budgets are like diets. I've been on one all of my life. At 38 years old, I weighed 285 pounds and smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I had the hourglass of life with a big-ass screwdriver trying to jam it to make it go faster. And the last thing that my mother gave me when she passed away in September of 86, she was a very big woman and died a miserable death because of that. And that was my awakening. And by the end of that year, I topped 285, and I looked in the mirror and I said, "You fat slob," to myself. And 8 months later, I was down to 220 pounds. And I have been on a physical fitness kick ever since then. And you know what? Because of that, in August, this next week will be 2 years since my anniversary of my 5 bypass open heart surgery. And the benefit of being physically fit, the doctor said he did not, because they told me 5 bypass, they would have to stop my heart to do the work. But after the surgery, he said I was so physically sound and everything that it was going on. He says, I did not have to stop your heart. And I am now more ripped and physically fit now than I have been in years, and with no restrictions, and the doctors are amazed. But it's that determination, that why. Why do I do what I do? It's a private thing, and I won't share that with you today, but I have my why, and I work out 10 to 40 minutes every day in some capacity. Now, all of this influence of what's going on, there are 5 things in our life outside of that: mortgages, taxes, qualified plans, college costs, and capital purchases. Those are the 5 big things in our financial world that you have to make decisions about. And if I got to get a mortgage, am I going to get a 15-year mortgage, or am I going to get a 30-year mortgage? Well, if you get a 15-year mortgage, you're going to save interest. That's an absolute true statement. However, it is not the only element affected by a mortgage. If I take a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, the payment is much, much lower than a 15-year mortgage. If I save the difference and I pay the equal mortgage payment I would have paid on the 15 on my 30-year mortgage, I'm going to accumulate savings. Access to capital is the secret to being financially successful. So in 15 years, if I still want to pay my mortgage off, I will have enough money saved. Because of that difference in the payment, I can pay the 30-year mortgage off if I try to, or if I want to at that point in time. But that mortgage payment that I'm making, every year we have an average of 3 to 4% inflation every year. So in 15 years, your monthly payment, the feeling of it, the effect of that is almost half of what it was 15 years ago. What did you earn 15 years ago compared to what you earn today? So there are right ways to make these decisions, and that leads me to there was a guy that I read about when I was learning the stuff that I do. This guy was Hermann Helmholtz. He was a German physicist, and he looked at how he made decisions. First off, he would saturation. He would conduct research, finding out everything he could learn on a subject. Incubation. This is the reflective time, the thinking and the mulling over what he learned through research. Number 3 is illumination. Helmholtz faithfully gave his full concentration to saturation and incubation. Then he said he arrived at sudden solutions. And there was a fourth guy that brought up verification, Henri Poincaré. Mathematical verification added by a French mathematician, Henri Poincaré. And this is the training that I have been through that determines what I do financially and the advice that I give people. It is tried and true. I have dozens and dozens of clients that have been with me for 20, 30 years and more, and I see the results that they have been able to I didn't create the results. All I did was coached and guided along the way. And if they needed products, I provided the products that were the correct products based on the correct information so that they ended up with the right results. So again, folks, the whole theme of today is, what is your why? Do you really want to be successful? Or are you so burnt out every day that, oh, this is never going to happen to me? The negative thinking has impermeated your mind like cancer impermeates the body, and it has affected your ability to see the future. I have people that even, well, you know, everything is already created. There's not going to be any new inventions. And I read this thing yesterday. And a couple of years ago, in 2023, there were 90,000 applications for patents for new items. A year later, there was 400,000 applications for now wait a minute, what happened? I mean, you're thinking like there's never going to be anything new again. There's no way that we can sit here and have a vision on what it's going to be like next year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now. The speed of growth is exponential. And the oncoming of these new computers, the quantum computer, and its ability to do 1,000,000 times more calculations, 1,000,000 times faster than current computers. And now everybody is being influenced by China and all the people on social. See, here's what you need to know. That stuff you're reading on social media that's negative about Donald Trump, that's negative about these information data centers that they want to build, all of that is propagated, I believe, more by foreign adversaries to us than anybody else, because anybody can post that stuff worldwide. I mean, I have followers on my Facebook from Pakistan, from Egypt, from England. I have on my I've got 7,000 followers on Facebook, literally from around the world. So what kind of influence can I have on those people looking and based on what I say and what I do? And from my heart, folks, I like to go home at night and sleep. If you ever get to know me personally, you know I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I can get very emotional very quickly. And what I have learned, I'd be in a conversation with a client, we get onto a subject, and I would actually start to cry. And I used to be so embarrassed. We used to be so embarrassed until God informed me one day, I gave you these emotions so you can be honest, truthful, and you can influence people. That is my dream in life, that somehow, some way, I say something on this radio or on my podcast that I reach inside your body. I can take your heart and massage it and make you feel different than you've ever felt before. I hope you get my message, folks, and what Tom Young is really all about. Follow me, tell people about me. I'm located in Beaver, Pennsylvania on 1413 3rd Street in Beaver. Phone number 724-728-6820. Come and see me. Spend 45 minutes. I give you 2 promises. I won't ask you to buy a thing, and I won't have a second meeting unless you determine you want to do it. It's really the important thing. It's my mission to help people become as efficient as they can be with their lives, with their money, and their finances, so that when retirement comes, the only answer is I want to have the most I can have when I get there. God bless you all. Come back and see me Friday. We're going to be on here for 2 hours Friday. We're going to really get into it a little bit more on Friday. God bless you.